Hello, my name is Ryan Tabor and I'm a solutions consultant with Beyond 20. Today we're going to be looking at out-of-the-box automation processes for the incident business object. So the first automation we're going to be looking at is a visual workflow. Incident not touched in 3 days. So as a visual workflow, it has a initiating event and a series of time or event-based blocks to drive the process forward. In this case, the event is incident created, standard 24/7 working hours, and no limitations on records or execution. It aborts the process when the incident is closed. So the first block is the wait for time or event, and this is driven off of the event incident changed. If the last modified date time has been changed, you can see the execution here. It jumps back to this step, and it will stay in this loop indefinitely as long as the time limit is not reached, which is a specific time of 3 days after the last modified date time. At that point, it'll run a one step, which is just a simple notification to the owner that the ticket has not been touched in 3 days. Now, the thing to note about this is that this is the termination of the process, and this will not execute again. So by default, no additional notifications will be sent out. The next automation we'll look at is notify incident owner of a new journal note. This is a simple action event automation driven off of a related child event. The relationship is incident owns journals, with the type being journal added. The record limitation restricts record to open incidents on journal notes. This prevents journals from being created by an email monitor or journal history, and ensures that only relevant communication is being submitted by a portal customer or technician to be passed to relevant parties. The action is to notify the owned by of a new journal note. Next, we will discuss notify incident owner or team. Both of these are simple automations where an email is sent to the owned by or owned by a team if either of those fields have been updated. The next we'll discuss is resolved by breached. The next we'll discuss is owned by breached incident created. Here, the visual workflow monitors when the SLA is breached. It begins when the incident is created, and instead of the 24/7 working hours, it is based off of the SLA. This allows for weekdays and work hours to be factored into time statements. There is no limitation on records, and the abort process is when the incident is closed, resolved, pending, or placed in cart. It is checked for before each step starts. Similar to the workflow we examined earlier, it is started when the incident is changed, and it monitors the SLA resolved by deadline. If the SLA resolved by deadline has been modified, say after a technician has reclassified the ticket and the SLA has changed, the action will repeat this step until the time limit has been reached. In this case, field-based resolved by deadline. Once the SLA resolved by deadline has been breached, a one step will be executed to notify the technician. So another important automation is the resolved to closed process. This is another visual workflow driven off of the incident status being changed to resolved. Working hours are based off of a standard 8 to 5 workday, not off of SLA or 24/7. The limit execution allows the one step to be run any number of times, but only if the process is not already running. This means that the incident can be reopened and put back into progress, then resolved a second time, and the automation will kick off again. The abort process can be summed up as the incident is no longer in a resolved state, or it has closed or changed values. The first action is to send an incident resolution email to the customer. The incident will be kept for 3 days by default, then the incident will be closed. The action event is just whether the status has changed or not, at which point the criteria for initiation will no longer be valid and the automation aborted. Finally, we'll also look at too many open incidents. This is a unique one and the only threshold-based automation available out of box for incident. This threshold automation is specifically for email and calendaring incidents, at which point a threshold email will be automatically sent if the threshold has been breached. The criteria used are email incidents, open incidents. Under thresholds, you can see that the threshold is checked every 5 minutes and that it will run the action every time the value is checked if the threshold is crossed, with a minimum of 30 minutes passing between runs. This prevents your users from being spammed with emails saying that the threshold has been crossed. The threshold is 10 incidents open. Above this point, an action will be executed to alert the admin. This has been a summary of the key features of the out-of-box automation processes for incident. I hope you found this interesting, and I will see you next time.